Hi everyone, it's me. Would you like to see what Croatia looks like? You've come to the right place. I recently got back from a trip to Croatia and I'm going to provide unnecessary, annoying commentary to my footage. I hope you like this video. Also, I can't do this video without a fake microphone. This time, the microphone is Coffee Crisp. Shout out to Will who sent this to my P.O. box on Patreon. If you want to support me directly and get bonus content, please consider joining me on Patreon. But without further ado, let's go. But there is further ado, because there always is. This is actually part 2. If you'd like to see part 1 of my trip to Dubrovnik, I am sure it is somewhere on this YouTube page. We're gonna start in on part 2, and today on this holiday, we decided to do the old walls. So one of the big tourist attractions, if you will, here in Dubrovnik is the old town walls. Now there's a lot of stairs. First up, stairs. My God, so many. So you climb up the stairs. Of course you have to pay, naturally. You pay for your ticket, you climb up the stairs, and you can walk around the entire old town on top of the walls, which to be honest, pretty cool. Now we went in May. It looks a bit cloudy. It's about 20 degrees, so it was actually incredibly comfortable and not very busy. You'll see there's like a couple people on the walls with us, but really not that many, which to me, I don't know about you, I loathe crowds. I just can't stand crowds. I hate it. I truly hate it. Look like there's almost nobody up there. So May, perfect time to visit. Maybe even September after all the tourists go will be another good time. But stairs. Hot tip. Tip number, I don't know, 2, 3. There's a lot of stairs. Do the walls earlier in the day. We decided to do these at the end of our day, at the end of touring and doing the touristy stuff and doing walking tours and the cable car up onto the hill. We then did the walls. So at this point, I'm like pretty tired. I know, I'm complaining. A little bit tired. My feet are starting to ache just a little bit. So hot tip, maybe do these like at the beginning. But whenever you do them, you certainly should, because they're really cool. Honestly, I've not really experienced anything like this before. I have been very privileged to do a lot of traveling, a lot of castles and forts and that kind of stuff, but not many of them have such a pristine and well-maintained and intact wall. And yes, you can go all the way around, which we did. I think it takes about an hour if you like casually walk along. It took us quite a bit longer because as you can see, I had to keep saying, oh, can I just film right here? Can we stop for a second? I just need to film. Can I take a picture right here? Just take a second, I need to take a picture. I need to take a video, just 1 second. But thankfully, I wasn't holding anybody up except my partner and I, because again, hardly anybody on the walls. There are parts that are quite narrow, like almost single file. So thankfully, not a lot of people up there because I would have been extremely annoying to literally every person around me. Now, any Game of Thrones viewers out there, do they still exist? You may recognize a couple of these shots because Game of Thrones was shot in Dubrovnik, Old Town, like quite a bit of it, I imagine. I think King's Landing and all that kind of stuff. I watched the first 2 seasons and then that was it. Anyway, what I wanted to say, hold that thought, laundry. Like I mentioned in part 1, there are very few Croatians that live in the old town anymore. Most of the apartments, most of the homes are now Airbnbs, for better or for worse. However, a good way to tell if an actual Croatian lives there is if there is laundry out on the line. Not a lot of tourists. Oh, cats. I'm all over the place. I'll come back to that. Not a lot of tourists are doing laundry. I don't think a lot of people are staying in the old town that long to warrant doing laundry. So a good rule of thumb is if you see laundry out on a line, that is likely to be an actual home. So you do see some of it when you walk around, but not many. Anyway, what was the other thing I wanted to talk about? Cats. Cats everywhere. So in the old town and on the outside of the walls, there are a lot of Croatian cats. We also saw them in Hvar and we saw them in Split, which we'll talk about probably in other videos. The cats keep the place clean, I'll tell you that much. I didn't see a single mouse, didn't see a single rat, but we saw tons of cats and they're very friendly and they're very sweet. They're a little bit dusty, but they are well fed. So there's like 3 starting points on the wall, and you have to walk in one direction, which thank God, I can't imagine if it was a free-for-all. So where we climbed up, we ended up sort of finishing around kind of by the harbor. I mean, you finish where you start, but we're sort of like in that area. So there's a really neat old harbor, as you've seen and probably will see again. It's pretty cool. I definitely recommend hanging out down there when it's hot. Maybe get a gelato, because Lord knows I had so much gelato on this trip. Anyway, just enjoy the rest of the wall footage and I'll be right back in a hot minute. Now, what did I say about gelato? This one, raspberry, delicious, and of course, same day, basil and coconut. Wonderful. Probably my favorite, to be completely honest. Basil and coconut, delicious. This is the next morning. We got some coffee, some maybe brownie and croissant. Why not start the day with sugar? Who cares? But this is kind of like a quiet corner inside the old town. Again, not busy, nobody around. But we found a little secret bench. We found some greenery, which is kind of weird to see in a stoned, walled town, but wonderful. And we just took in some of the local architecture. How cool. Now for this day in Dubrovnik, we decided to go to the local island, Lokrum. I'm not gonna pronounce that properly, and I am deeply sorry. So here in the old harbor, in the small harbor, you can take this ferry, tickets obviously, but if you pay for the ferry, you also pay an entrance fee to get to the island. So it's kind of like an all-in-one, why not? We hopped on the ferry. I think it was every half hour it would leave for the island, and it only takes about 10 minutes. So I think it's worthwhile, especially if you got a little extra time. If you're only in Dubrovnik for a day, probably not. You're gonna be a bit preoccupied. But since we were there for a couple of days, this day, a little bit cloudy, we thought, you know what, let's go to the island. Plus you get a little bit of a boat tour. I mean, it's not a boat tour, it's a ferry, it's a 10-minute ferry, but we're gonna call it a boat tour. So our guide, our walking tour guide from the previous day, had talked about Lokrum, I'm so sorry, that it is a haunted island. And let me tell you, I don't know about you, I love a good ghost story. So apparently there were like monks, there's like a monastery on the island, and then it was shut down. I'm so sorry, I don't know the full story, but I do know that before the monks left the island, they cursed it, apparently. Spooky. So our tour guide was telling us that the final ferry that leaves the island, everybody has to leave the island. Nobody lives on the island. Nobody stays overnight on the island. Everybody has to get off because it is cursed. And whether you believe that or not, I don't really care. I think it's a fun story. I love a good cursed island story, okay? So today we're going to the cursed island. Well, what's on it? Nature, of course. But before we get there, enjoy some of these views of Croatia, of Dubrovnik, and of the old town. Oh, hold on, peacocks. There are peacocks on this island. And we saw a male peacock really trying to impress one of the ladies. I have never heard a peacock make this noise before, like rustling his feathers to literally make this noise. So have a listen, okay? I was like kind of freaked out. Anyway, just listen. Look at him shaking his butt. Poor lad, she looked incredibly not interested. Anyway, we continued on. So there are pathways, there are like gardens. We did find these like secret stairs off to the side at sort of halfway through the island. And we thought, ooh, secret stairs. Yes, please. So you go down these stairs. There's like really cool cactus kind of stuff and like flowering plants. Who doesn't love a good plant? The stairs stop and there is a rocky sort of outcrop. So naturally we climbed. We climbed all over it. And I don't know about you, again, I don't know about you, but I know about me, and I love the sound of just like waves and water. So enjoy some of the natural ambiance of this island, and I'll be right back. Was that nice? I hope it was nice. Anyway, this whole island was just very peaceful. We hardly saw anybody. I love sitting on the rocks and watching the water and hearing, you know, the bubbling and the gurgling. These cactuses gave me a splinter right there. Don't touch them, okay? Because I spent the rest of the day picking out those little cactus splinters and kind of thinking that I might die. Anyway, it's hard to picture how steep this walkway is. It is quite steep. We were absolutely sweating, even though it's overcast. We thought it was gonna be cool. It was not. It was extremely hot and humid. But there is this like part of the monastery, I guess, part of like a little fort on top of this sort of incline. A little bit spooky, I'll be completely honest, but who doesn't love a ghost story, right? Pretty well maintained. I mean, this building is certainly well maintained. So naturally, you have to go inside. I was actually shocked how decent this camera does in low light because it was so dark inside, which you can't really tell, but fair play to that camera. Not sponsored, but not bad, eh? So you go inside, creepy, spooky, cool, which is nice. You take these stairs up to the sort of middle bit. Wonderful, lots of stone. You take the stairs up a little bit more. Watch where you're going, Alanna. You almost fell, I saw that. And then you kind of peek out sort of on the top bit, if you will. Get some fresh air, again, hot and humid. And then I sort of thought, ooh, there's a little spit. I'm gonna stand up there. My short little legs, there you go. And you get a nice shot of the island, of this sort of fort monastery bit of Croatia. Yeah, pretty cool. I thought it was fun. You can't tell how sweaty I am, but let me tell you, it was hot and so peaceful. Like hardly anybody up there. You couldn't hear anything. So the island is definitely a nice break. If you're a little tired of crowds and of people, I think it was a really nice couple of hours. We were definitely on the island for a couple of hours. Beautiful, peaceful. Oh yeah, here I am, very sweaty. I thought I'd wear like a long sleeve workout top because I thought, oh, it's gonna be cold. There's gonna be lots of wind being near the water. No, that was an absolute no. Whatever, who cares? What is this? Oh yeah, I thought that was cool. You can kind of go right down to the water. The water was freezing, by the way, but that didn't stop us from doing a little bit of swimming. And now we are back at the like harbor on the island. Lots of peacocks, again, just roaming around, having a look. This guy, this lady rather, just walked right by us, seeing if we had any food. Wow, you can really see how thick my glasses are from this angle. That's depressing. Anyway, back on the ferry, same company ferry, goes back and forth, back and forth. Back on the ferry, ideally get one of the seats on either side so you can get a better view. This way home, we decided to get on the side that was closest to the island so we could see just, you know, the island from the water. Yeah, I'll let you enjoy this one. Now the next day, seeing the sunrise over the water, how peaceful. I'm just gonna take a shot every time I say peaceful, I don't care. Now this day we had checked out of our flat. We left, we were allowed to leave some luggage, but we were a little bit iffy about whether it was gonna get stolen. So we walked around with our backpacks and all of our tech and passports and expensive stuff in our backpacks, just on the off chance, and walked around. Now, can you see how windy it is? If you look at the water, it was windy this morning. It was pretty cold, that's why I got my coat on. I got the baby frizz hair just like blowing in the wind. But today we were going to do the King's Landing spot. Again, Game of Thrones, if you guys still exist, you may recognize this location. They did a lot of filming here. They also filmed like Captain America and stuff here. I don't really care, to be honest. But if you like that kind of thing, there are loads of Game of Thrones tours that you can do, and they show you like the still images from the show, and you can see, oh yeah, I recognize that. I don't really care. So we just walked this place anyway. We got in with the ticket we had already purchased for the walls. So you can do the walls and you can do this fort on the same ticket as long as you do it within so many hours. So we thought we'll have a wander, get some great shots of Dubrovnik and of the walled town from the other side. You can see the walls, we walked around, and that island, that is Lochram Island that we just went to. Not a whole lot at this fort, to be honest, pretty much empty, with the odd like little cannon here and there, but still very cool. I love history. I love no crowds. And there's no crowds. And just looking at the water, I don't know, it's just nice. All right, had a great time. Look at that hair. Oh, honey. Well, there's nothing we can do about it now, is there? Just ignore it. It was really windy, but it didn't last long. You're gonna see that in a hot minute. Anyway, more touring. You can see more of Dubrovnik. I love the roofs. Just something about like a reddy orange terracotta type roof. Anyway, so more wind. We got outside, we found a bench, we sort of regrouped on the bench, and we're like, what are we gonna do next? We got the rest of the day before we catch our next ferry. We were going to Hvar later that evening. So what do you wanna do? We sat around, we ended up getting some lunch. Can you see how many cats are in this clip? Did you guess 2? Because you'd be right. There's this boy sitting up top, cute. And that boy sitting down in the sun, love it. I love Croatian cats, all right? I took so many pictures looking like a crazy cat lady. Anyway, after lunch, we decided we would wander more of the city, more of the old town rather, that's up on the incline. So there's quite a big incline on the one half of the town. You gotta go up, again, 1,000,000 stairs, but we thought, why not? We got our backpacks now, get a little workout. And we started just doing more touring, more walking around, seeing some of the stuff that we hadn't had a chance to yet, including some of the churches. There are tons in the old town, tons of them. So if you like that kind of thing, get ready, you're gonna see some. Also, very cool, like temperature-wise in the churches. I'm just gonna throw that out there. They're quite cool inside, which is nice. I love a good church architecture. I'm not a religious person, fair play if you are. I love church architecture. This one was really cool. It had like a gold studded organ up top, which is pretty neat. But these churches are open as long as, you know, they're not holding a service for free. You can walk in, you can have a little nose around. Lots of cool stuff to see. I love the like gold little designs and the ceilings. Oh my goodness, have a look at that. Absolutely beautiful. Because at this point, let me tell you, it was getting so hot outside. Had to take the coat off, but unfortunately I had chosen to wear jeans that day because I thought it was going to be windy and rainy, and it ended up being absolutely beautiful, which is fair play. Oh, more cats. Oh, this is the Orthodox Church. So we had a little peek inside, quite a bit smaller, but a lot more gold. I'll tell you that much. Loads of gold. Look at it. Beautiful. Again, not very big, but as far as I'm aware, these churches do hold regular service. They are still actively used, but I think it was like, I don't know, a Thursday morning. Had a little peek inside. Just did some more wandering and some more sweating. Now, would I go back to Dubrovnik, back to the old town? No, I think I have seen all that I need to see. I feel like Dubrovnik has been checked off my list. Would I recommend it? Absolutely. I think it is beautiful. It is so well preserved, and they don't hide their history behind glass or behind a roped off section. You are in it, you are breathing it, you are interacting with it, which is something we saw throughout Croatia. It's just like, here's the history, climb on it, touch it, interact with it. It's pretty cool. So definitely would recommend it. We were starting to get a little bit tired by the end of this afternoon. It was so hot and beautiful. So we went back to the sort of the old harbor in the old town. Starting to get a bit busy, beautiful day. Had some gelato as you do, and sort of, if you walk past the harbor, past sort of like one of the old walled turrety bits, there's this like, would you call it a pier, I guess? Anyway, definitely recommend coming out to the pier and just hanging out in the sun. There is access to the water from this side, and there's actually showers if you wanted to rinse off after being in the sea, which is pretty cool. So definitely come out to this bit. You can see everybody just hanging out, enjoying the sun. We had a couple of hours to burn before we had to take the bus to the real port, and it was just wonderful, peaceful. Like, look at the water. Man, I miss the sun. I miss the sun big time. And I'm just, yeah. I hope we have a sunny summer here in England, I'll tell you that much. Take a shot because I'm about to say peaceful. Anyway, then we take the bus to the port. We are taking that ferry across the road to Hvar, which is our next stop. If you would like to see the next part of my trip, make sure to leave a comment down below. Maybe something like, I want more Croatia. Our next stop is the island of Hvar. Spoiler, it was awesome. However, if you would like to watch more content right now, make sure to check out part 1 of our Croatian trip. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, bye!